the biggest, most interesting data item in this place, Joe, is the fact that the CEA put out a report, Council of Economic Advisors, that showed that import prices into the U.S. are dropping, actually dropping during all this. And my theory as an economist of why that is that Americans, because of President Trump's leadership, have recognized that when they buy an American product, they not only get perhaps a better product, certainly a better product most of the time, but they're also making their community stronger. And so there's, I think, a lot of patriotism in the data. The bottom line is people prefer American products. And so, therefore, the demand for imports has gone way down so much that even with what tariffs have been there, where people would say, oh, they might increase prices at least a little bit, we've seen prices going down. The other factor, don't forget, is that if we have a trade deficit year after year after year with a country, then by definition, they're supplying stuff to us inelastically. And so if you have an inelastic supplier and you put a tariff on them, then the inelastic supplier bears the tariff. I think putting it all together, we haven't seen it in the data, and it's been long enough. It's been long enough, right? We've got hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs coming in. The CBO says that we're now, with the things that are already in place, set for $3 trillion in tariffs over the next 10 years, just about. And all of that, and we haven't seen big market responses. In fact, the market's been going up. We haven't seen inflation responses. And we've got all that tariff revenue coming in. Imagine if we had a tax hike of that scale, how much upset there'd be.
About that.
The time I'm recording this video is 7 a.m. in the morning, and today we're supposed to expect the government report on inflation, which is where all these economist guys will make their claims about whether inflation increased or not. There's a lot of signals that he hit the inflation mark again. I think Trump is going to hover around 2% again, maybe slightly under. As you saw from the intro, the director, NEC director, Kevin Hassett, hopefully I said his name right, he claims that he glorifies the success of tariffs. And many of these liberal-minded, finance YouTube, if you ever watched finance YouTube, they're dooming and glooming over every little thing. Every time Trump claims tariffs, they're quick to say, it could cause inflation. It could, but did it do it? Look at they don't point to the track record. How about the last 4 months that happened? Did these inflation claims come true? No. These same finance YouTubers also were fear-mongering along with the mainstream media about the Trump recession. Did they ever go back and say, we don't? Now they're giving up, right? Now the finance YouTubers are saying, we don't know what's going to happen with it. Bruh, it started to get annoying. And my question to you, and this is question like many Americans are asking, especially if you're on the right. If tariffs didn't work, why do other countries make tariffs against the USA? Like, make it make sense. We have the biggest market, yet smaller markets have the goal to tariff us for putting our products in there. I think this month was the first month, actually not the first month. This month, or this period, this is a quarter, I don't remember which, you guys can fact check me in the comment section. But I think Ford outsold Toyota for the first time in a long time. Ford outsold Toyota. Made in America, we spend in America. And that's what's helping drive down the cost of tariffs. But do these finance YouTubers ever look into it? No. They just read some news article, read some article by some expert who, based on political diversity, liberal economists dominate that field. So that means they're getting a liberal perspective on the economy. And then they make a video on that. And then they make everyone fearmonger about the economy and how, oh my God, it's chaotic. No one knows what's going on. And I think Jerome Powell is one of the leading voices of this thing, because people are having talks that Jerome Powell may not even make it to the weekend. And I believe this report on July 15th, this report here is very crucial, because this can make or break Jerome Powell.
The bottom line is, from my perspective, that when the Federal Reserve was created, we were under a gold standard. And the idea that the Fed could print money and then spend $2.5 billion on a building without real congressional oversight, it didn't occur to the people that framed the Federal Reserve Act. And so I think that we've got a real problem of oversight and excess spending. And to put it in perspective, the cost overrun right now is $700 million. The second biggest renovation of a building that we've ever had in the history of D.C. was the Federal Reserve building, the FBI building. And the FBI building, the whole thing costs about the same as this cost overrun at the Fed. And so I think that we definitely need to rethink the way the Fed's acting. We 100% want independent monetary policy, but it sure looks like they need more congressional oversight on things like the way they build their buildings.
So that's a possible angle on how Donald Trump could possibly use cause to fire Jerome Powell. So I want to watch this clip from Fox News because Fox News is the only news site, and CNBC, the Squawk Box, they do a fair job recovering like financial news and giving Trump credit and really pushing back on this fear mongering, hyperbolic narrative that liberal economists love to do. Because end of the day, I don't care how much of an expert an economist is, if they're not disciplined enough to check their own bias, they still will feed you bad information. Right. And this fallacy of authority that a lot of these finance bros, right, that talk about stock news and the economy and all this recession fear, a lot of them tend to, have more of a left-wing view on the economy. And it's hard not to, especially if you're apolitical. You just take what's given to you. And if all the news websites are saying this one thing, but you don't look at their track record, like, hey, did this come to fruition? Hey, let's look at True Inflation. True Inflation, which is a website that many people use as an alternative source to track inflation. Right now, it has it at 1.67%. That's why I believe that maybe it's a little bit higher than what's stated there. It might be at 2, maybe slightly under 2% is the inflation report. That's my prediction about the inflation report that's going to come out of the government today in about 4 hours after I shoot this video. But, I digress. Let's get into some of the calls for why people want Jerome Powell to go, and we'll give my commentary throughout the video as usual.
We have a bad Fed chairman, really bad. If he would lower the rates, and I tried being nice to the guy, it doesn't help. He's like a knucklehead. No, he's a knucklehead. A stupid guy.
If Jerome Powell stepped down, it would be a great thing.
Oh, in 2020, let's not forget the median monthly new car loan was $570. Today, it's $745.
I want to talk about this because I struggle so much on this YouTube channel that I wanted to cover finance stuff, but at the same time, I don't want to cover finance stuff. I feel like because finance and politics, they go hand in hand, because at the end of the day, the banks are regulated by the government. So whatever's going on politically, it affects you financially to some degree. Now, if you're a long-term investor, this political stuff don't matter to you. My stock portfolio increased with Joe Biden in office, Trump in office. It don't matter because I have a long-term projection about how I invest my money. But this is a concern for many people. This is why I believe, if you ask Americans, hey, Trump wants to fire Jerome Powell because he doesn't want to cut rates. Do you agree? I think a lot of Americans will say, yeah, cut rates because my mortgage is expensive. My car insurance is expensive. This personal loan I took out is expensive. This is why. A car loan was $570. Now it's $745. The average car loan. Wow. This is why you get a reliable car, you pay off, and you don't get a new one until the wheels fall off of the current one you have. Get as much use, maximize use out of any product you have. And I think this consumerism culture that we got caught up in, that it was marketed to us, it did us a disservice. It put a lot of people in a financially vulnerable position. Because if you look at stats, and this is where I go financing on you, if you look at stats, majority of Americans don't even have $1,000 for an emergency. You heard that correctly. 1000, $1,000. 48% of people who make 6 figures are living paycheck to paycheck. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Americans have a consumer problem, a consumerism problem. And I don't know what's driving this, emotionalism. I don't know what it is. Lack of financial education, right? This is why my kids, they're not going to fall into this stuff. This is one reason I want to homeschool my son. Because they say apparently your child's money habits are formed under the age of 8. So you go into school, you waiting for a school to teach your kids about finances? No. Hey, son, this is how me and mommy balance the budget in our household. Here's what we use for paying bills. Here's what we use to save money. Oh, why you need to save money? My son has a piggy bank. He brags about how much money he has in his piggy bank. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you want to start already introducing to your children, because this is how America got set up. And we can't blame the government. We can't blame the government because 76% of American students are educated in the government school system, public school system. I'm just saying.
Now, same for mortgages. In 2021, the median cost was $1,525 per month. Today, it's...
And sorry guys, I know the video hasn't even been playing long, but I just want to put this. I want to get this last point in. You see the mortgage rates. You see how much it increases. This is Jerome Powell. The reason why he doesn't want to cut rates is because it's political. Because if 5 months in a row someone hit your target, hey, if it hits 2% on average, I need to see more evidence. The first time it hit 2%, fine. Then it went slightly under 2%. Okay. Then April, May, June. Now we're going to July. Yo, how much more evidence do you need to see that inflation is hovering around your target? At least cut the rates a little bit or do something. And I think this is why Jerome Powell is facing so much pressure, because a lot of people are saying, what you basing your analysis on? Is it the fact that you don't want to admit that you were proven wrong by the tariffs? Because earlier in February, I believe, Jerome Powell was making warnings about how the tariff will be a bad thing, and then we could see price increases. And he did all this kind of forecasting about what Trump's economic agenda would achieve. And then he was proven wrong. And now this looks like he's holding the interest rates up out of spite for Donald Trump. I think this is what it's coming across, and this is why many people are calling for his resignation, because people don't no longer trust his judgment. But I digress. Let's continue.
It's around $2,205. So Trump says Powell's refusal to slash rates is exploding the federal budget as well by $400 billion a year. So hitting families, hitting the U.S. government. Here to weigh in is the first official that I know of to call for Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, to step aside, is Bill Pulte, U.S. Federal Housing Director. Director Pulte, come on, how bad is this really hurting everyday Americans?
It's bad, and it's getting worse. It's not only hurting people, but I actually think, and I'm here, I'll make a prediction, Laura, I think that this building fiasco that Jay Powell has grossly mismanaged will be the end of his career. That's my view.
Explain it. Explain it to the viewers.
I think he basically spent $2.5 billion on renovating a building. I mean, how does one do that? You know, I've spent my whole life in construction. President Trump has done construction his whole life. Jay Powell knows nothing about construction. So what was going on with $2.5 billion? Who got this money? Where did it go? There needs to be a full-blown audit.
And this is one reason why Jerome Powell will resign, even though he's unfireable, right? Jerome Powell is technically unfireable. But if Trump makes calls, which is this, hey, you mismanaged this by $200 billion, doesn't cost as much to build and renovate a building. We're thinking you're using this to pay off some friends or some politically aligned people. Trump can make any kind of calls because he has warranted concerns about what Jerome Powell's doing. And Jerome Powell, not to be, publicly embarrassed, like Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci didn't want to get fired by Donald Trump, so he resigned before Donald Trump came into office. I believe Jerome Powell might do the same thing, but I digress. Let's continue.
Of this building, and I think they put out an FAQ page today, Laura. It smells bad. It smells very bad. I think, this is my opinion, I think there's fraud, and I think you're going to see a lot more come out in the weeks and days to come.
Do you think Jerome Powell himself directed certain contracts or gave a wink about certain contracts? Because the price of renovating the Federal Reserve building is so high?
I don't know, but he's so pompous. He's so arrogant. You have one of the most popular, if not, I believe, the most popular president in history. This gentleman, President Trump, just won a landslide victory, and the president doesn't want him there. And he's just so pompous, so arrogant. It's time for Powell to go. He's too late with his resignation, okay? And he's going to be too late resigning. But I think, as I said, I think this building will.
You see the theme here? Too late. Right? That's his calling card. Because before, people were saying, hey, you need to stop cutting interest rates during Biden's economy, during the 2022, when inflation was out of control, when we had the highest inflation rate in 40 years in 2022, people were telling him, stop cutting the rates. And he was too late to stop cutting rates. Now Trump's in office, he's too late to cut rates, even though Trump's economic hard data, not survey data, not people's opinions about the economy, not people's beliefs about the economy. We don't want to track that. We want to track the actual economics. Oh, you have a surplus from tariffs? Oh, okay. Hey, inflation has hit target month over month over month. Oh, okay. Hey, prices have not increased due to the fact of inflation, due to the fact of tariffs. We could cut rates. No. All the hard data is pointing at, hey, it'll be okay for you to cut rates. But he doesn't want to do it. Ego? I think it's ego. Honestly, I think it's ego. And this is why he has to go. Because you can make a legitimate argument that he's not operating based on data. He's operating based on his belief, based on his subjective theories, and based on opinion. That's it. That's what Jerome Powell is doing. And this is what leads me to believe, this is political bias. He's being political here. With Joe Biden, he was willing to work with him. With Donald Trump, not only did he's not willing to work with Donald Trump, he actively criticized his economic policy. Where was this for Joe Biden when he was forgiving student loan debt, which contributed 23% to the inflation rate increase? Student loan forgiveness did that. It contributed 23% towards inflation. Where was Jerome Powell criticizing that economic move? Nothing to be heard. But, the tariffs from Donald Trump, you want to criticize that. This shows a level of unprofessionalism from Jerome Powell, and this is why I think many people are pressuring him or calling for his resignation.
Will be the end of his career. I don't mean that in a mean way, but you know what? We have to get on with the American business. We have to get on with the American economy. As you know, I oversee Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Americans are hurting because of what happened the last 4 years with Biden. We need something new. Powell's got to go, and I'm hearing, from a lot of people that he's thinking about leaving. So let's hope to God he does it and does it soon.
Well, there's a betting pool going on, but he said he's not leaving. Many times he said, I'm not leaving. And at one point you thought, well, if he was even fired, which, I think the president has the authority to fire him. Others disagree. But if he was fired, yeah.
And I believe he's violated the National Capital Planning Act, which, gives him for cause. This is just my view. So I think he's got all the legal rights in the world. That'll all be up to the president and his lawyers. But we'll see what happens. This building gets worse by the day, Laura.
Well, Kevin Hassett is the director of the National Economic Council. Discuss this situation with the Federal Reserve. Watch.
The Fed has a lot to answer for. And the bottom line is that there's a key statutory problem. It never envisioned by the people that voted for the construction of the Fed that we currently see that the Fed could print money and toss it around willy-nilly because they had to have the gold to do what they're doing. And they're unbounded right now.
Well, yeah, Bill, this has always been the problem with the Federal Reserve. Their unchecked power with enormous influence and effect on the American people.
And it's crazy to me that the president can't direct, oversee, or fire these people. Make it make sense. You give an independent entity that much power and influence over the state of your country, and the president, who is voted in by the will of the people, can't do nothing about it? That makes no sense. There needs to be some reform on that, in my opinion.
Without, it seems like, any accountability other than a 10-year term.
Correct. And let me give you an example of what I believe is fraud by Jerome Powell. I believe Jerome Powell is committing fraud right now at the Fed with this building. Let me give you a real-time example, okay? We saw on his FAQ page that he released today that there are no, quote, VIP dining rooms, that there's no dining rooms, new dining rooms or renovated dining rooms or something along those lines. But instead they called them rooms for mealtime meetings. So they're saying that there's no dining rooms, but that there's rooms for mealtime meetings, and those ones are being renovated. This is
the type of stuff that Democrats be doing. They be playing these little word games. Look, we play in the world of reality, not the world of words. And these people, especially in politics, they seem to love the world of words. They play these little word games like it's board games. Like, come on, really? A room for dining, a dining room?
The level I believe that there's deceit and fraud. We found it at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I believe it's there at the Fed, and I believe that, as I said, this building will be the end of Jerome Powell's career.
And to save face, he probably will resign before Trump even has the chance to fire him. So I think that wraps up my thoughts. I think I gave you guys a good settled picture of like some of the options that Donald Trump can do to fire the Fed, why the Fed has been wrong so many times. Jerome Powell personally has been wrong. Why a lot of liberal economists has been wrong is because they fearmonger about the fact that the dollar is weakening, but you need a weak dollar so that way it's easier for people to pay for American goods into their country, right? So it helps the tariffs for not increasing prices on us for the tariffs, right? But instead of painting it as this is a counterbalance to achieve this agenda that Trump wants, they don't take any consideration of Trump's intent with the tariffs. They just think, this is a bad idea, and he's going to chicken out. How is Trump chickening out, but tariff revenue has increased? Make it make sense. This is the narrative that liberal media will tell you. The taco strategy. Investors, the reason why the economy no longer reacts negatively to tariff news anymore is because of the taco strategy. Trump will always chicken out. What do you mean by that? He'll say he'll do tariffs and then he'll back out at the last minute. He won't do the tariffs. Okay. All these tariffs, have tariffs increased or decreased since Trump's Liberation Day? They're going to say tariffs increased, but it's not 145%, but tariffs increased, right? Yeah, I thought the increase of tariffs will hurt the economy. It didn't, did it? No. But, people People will say whatever they want to say to make themselves feel better. Who knows? Like Jerome Powell saying that we didn't do any VIP rooms. We just created rooms where people eat at. Yeah, okay. Word games. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. Let's see if my prediction comes out to be true. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts and beliefs are. Do you believe that Jerome Powell should go? Do you believe that Jerome Powell is actually hurting the economy more than he's helping the economy by being too late to cut rates, even though other nations across the globe are cutting rates and they have a weaker economy than we do, but they're cutting rates, but we're not cutting rates? Does that make sense to anybody? I don't think so. Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me out in the algorithm, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.